Hey everyone, so here we are, first web page, first time. We're just going to get in and start looking around at the guts of what web pages are made of. First, we're really going to start with this thing called HTML. Then we're going to look at this other thing called CSS. And finally, we're going to wind up with something called JavaScript, JS, sometimes we call it for short. So before I try to explain what all of these are, we're actually just going to go and look at them. And you can do this too. If you're using Chrome as a web browser, whether you use Firefox or whether you use Safari or Internet Explorer, they all have this similar thing going on where you can inspect the page. You can open up something called the Developer Tools or Developer Console. I'm going to be showing you this in Chrome, but if you're at all confused, either message me and I'll send you a screenshot of how to access this in your particular browser, or just do a quick Google search for DevTools Safari or Developer Console Safari, and you'll find out that there's very similar ways to access the same thing. So all I'm going to do is open up Chrome here. You can see here I'm just landed on my own personal super simple profile web page. I made it really simple on purpose. And this is a good first page for us to look at because it's not super complicated. It's not created by some company that's got really complicated web development stuff going on in the background. I just made it. I know how it's made. It's pretty straightforward, and I built it to be simple. So what we're going to do is we're just going to right click. And when a menu pops up here in Chrome, we have a few different things. You know, I have some stuff that's particular. But right down here, we have both view page source and inspect. So view page source will open up the code for this page, basically the HTML document. So if I pop that open, we get this whole document. It's a little confusing, but you can see that it corresponds a little bit to what we have on the first page. We have here Victor Temprano, CEO, founder. And if I look down here, we can see it says Victor Temprano, CEO, founder. Now, I'm really fast at seeing this because I'm used to reading these kinds of documents. So I know what to ignore and what to focus in on. You, as someone brand new to this, you're going to get caught up in a lot of this stuff. The head, HTML, these meta things, links. That's, clicking on random stuff apparently. That's really normal, and don't be like too intimidated by the fact that I do this quite quickly. That's just nature of having experience in it. But I am going to try to train you to kind of be able to see the important bits. Ultimately, that's something that can only really come with experience. So there is going to be a bit of speed that I have that you might not, but I still just want to show you the basics. So we can see here we have some similar text. That's CEO stuff, founder stuff. We have this stuff about maps. And as we go down, we can see, you know, on my page, I have a bunch of list items that are links. And if we go over here, we can see there's the same text, native land, project 44, there they are, the same thing. So we can see that this code is referring to this page. And as we scroll down, we see all this other stuff, and there's a whole bunch of it, and it's all here, all this text. So this is the original document that the browser actually gets, and then it presents it this way. It basically takes that and then puts it into a nice, more human-friendly looking format. But this is kind of what the computer gets. So this itself is an HTML file, and this is the HTML file of this particular page. You can see it starts up here with HTML, okay, and it says document type HTML. Now, another way we can look at this, rather than having to look at the whole thing at once, which can feel a little bit overwhelming, there's a lot going on, we don't know where to look, is we can also left click on a particular place and press inspect. And this will open up another window, which I'm going to bring in here. And this is called the DevTools window. You're going to have something very similar, like I said, in other browsers. And this basically opens up that same document, but it pinpoints to where I left clicked. So it'll tell me, oh, in the HTML document, where you left clicked is this particular spot in that document. So if I go down here and I say, oh, I want to see this particular spot, I left click there, or sorry, right click. I've been saying left click. I right click in these places and I inspect, and there it opens up to that particular bit of text. Yeah, you can see it opens up here, this work experience bit. So this is a great way to pinpoint specifically, and this is kind of fun to do. Now with these two tools, we're just going to go, before we explain what's going on in all this and what all this means and what HTML is, we're just going to go like look at a few web pages and just see what's going on and look at that we can do this. So I can inspect here, I can see, oh, there's this bit of work experience text and it's surrounded by some other stuff. And one other really nice thing is that when you inspect, at least in Chrome and usually in the other ones as well, you can, as you mouse over, it will actually like highlight and show the area that your mouse is over. So when I mouse over this thing called container, you can see it highlights in blue a certain part, in green a certain part, and in kind of orange color another part. And as I go all the way down here, it highlights that block there, and then it highlights just this work experience block, and then it highlights each one. So I can really easily mouse over and see which part of the document is referring to which part of the page that I can see. So looking at another page, I looked at Berkshire Hathaway because it's kind of funny how simple this website is. It looks like it was made, in fact, it probably was made in the 1990s and never updated because that's Warren Buffett's style. But you can see the same thing. We can highlight the whole page, and then we can go down and look at each individual piece. You can see here they actually have a little thing for the B, and then for the Berkshire, and then for the H, and then the Hathaway, and something for the rest of it here, which is kind of all over in these different chunks. So there's all these different chunks, and this is kind of nice for you to just do a little bit across a couple different sites, just to mouse over and start digging in a little bit yourself before you even really know what any of these things mean. Just by looking at these, you're going to start to get used to seeing some of these types of tags around, seeing things that say body, or a little P there, something that says font, or a little center thing, or an HR. There's some common things you're going to see. Now, if we just go to Google, this is a major corporate site. So it's a little bit different. And you can see here, it already looks a little more complicated. There's like some crazy stuff written up here. There's all kinds of like different things going on in, referring to this image or whatever this is doing. There's all these strange characters all over the place. And this is, of course, because it's a very advanced site and there's some confusing things going on that you're not going to have to learn about for a long time. But that's normal. You can still mouse over each part. And in this case, I can actually see, oh, that's telling me that's where the image is loaded. And then that's the little block that it's loaded in. Okay, and here's another little block of stuff. And if we open that up by clicking this little triangle, we can see, oh, there's a little bit more of a block, and go in more and more, and just keep going in and see, oh, there's the actual search bar, right? So that's, and just as a last example, let's just look at Twitter, another big web page. And we can see here, there's lots of stuff going on. Look at all this craziness. But again, the same basic idea. There's like this document, and we can mouse over stuff, and we can see how it's kind of broken down as we mouse over more and more. Things are general, and then there's stuff inside of stuff, and then more stuff inside, and it's just kind of like this nesting doll where things keep breaking down further and further. Now, to give a very basic idea, that's what we call the document tree of an HTML document. It kind of goes in like this, and things, you have a block, and then you put another block inside it, and then you put another block inside it, and then there's your little bit of text, and then you have another little block, and you have a little bit of text. And that's really the very basics of an HTML document. But this video is not necessarily to actually start the HTML journey, but just to get you used to looking at sites like this and looking at them a bit, inspecting them, getting familiar, seeing that you can do this. Because in our next sections, as we start actually building with HTML, we're going to do this with our own sites, and we're going to look at other people's sites to see what we can steal of what they did, what we can copy, what we can learn from them, and also like some common things that we see out there when it comes to HTML documents. So I hope this was fun. I hope you feel like you're starting to become a developer already, getting into the guts of the internet. And in the next section, we're going to go into an even cooler thing, which is that you can actually change stuff on the page right from within there. And from there, we're going to move into actually starting to make some of our own HTML documents. See you in the next video.